can have some of this. So here is the classic survey. Some somber Warcraft 3 music. So this is something I wanted to do. I'm very late to the party, but if you guys are watching this live over at Twitch, this will be a YouTube video as well, but for you guys live on Twitch, let me know in the chat as I go through these what your thoughts are as well, and I'll try to read out those comments as they come. So what this basically is this is the ultimate WoW Classic Design Survey for Classic World of Warcraft. You know, Blizzard have intentions to create actual official Classic servers, but they don't know how to take it on, so they created a survey that people responded with, and it's got 33,000 responses there. And this is to help Blizzard make the right decisions, hopefully. Now, because I'm a slacker, I never actually filled in the survey, and I regret that. But I'm at least going to go through what looks like the results, and I'm going to tell you my opinions as we go through it. Some of this I might not remember, but I did play World of Warcraft back in the day. What was my WoW experience since vanilla? Yeah, I played in the American beta. So I played actually before vanilla. And it was stupidly laggy. If you died, it took you about an hour to res. So you would just hover over your corpse, and you would just wait for the button to not be grey anymore, and then you can click on it. And it was ridiculous. I spent hours on it, and probably only got to like level 4 or 5. That's how bad I was. I was playing it with Judas as well. He was a good friend of mine. So we were just messing around with Taurens and stuff like that, dancing around. Actually, you didn't actually really play the game, you were just messing around in it. But yeah, that's how far it goes back for me. So vanilla, to give you some inclination, I had 2 level 60s, and both of them were rogues. The second one was initially going to be a paladin, because we rolled on a horde server first. So we played, well, it wasn't a horde server, but we played as horde, troll rogue, level 60. He was called Keck. Basically did Stratham and stuff like that before re-roll into Alliance for a new server that came out. And I started off with a paladin, got to level 11, I think it was. Found it so boring, I actually had to restart, and I thought, well, I want to race to first, and I actually did manage to race to first on that server, but I think Harry might have beaten me, and one of the Chinese levelers. There was 2 Chinese levelers and Harry, but either way I came like, what, first, second, or third, but I had to stop the paladin because I couldn't stand it anymore, and I just made another rogue, because I was like, rogue is good, so I'll make another rogue. But I've played all of the classes and everything since then. But yeah, initially World of Warcraft Classic was, in vanilla, was rogue, shaman. I didn't like shaman much. Rogue, because that's when we went to horde after that. I got a lot of stories, but anyway, I'll try to keep it brief. Rogue, shaman, mage was, I think, my initial vanilla classic characters. And warrior. Yeah, I did a lot. So, should Moradin be accessible at the start of the server? So, added patch 1.2, 1 month and 24 days after the games. So, people say yes to that. I would say yes. I don't see why not. There's going to be a lot of tryhards. I'm going to be one of those people, most likely. Unless something changes dramatically for me, I intend to play quite hardcore in vanilla, so I would be quite keen on being one of those tryhards that gets all the best gear and has more access to better gear. So Moradin was a level 40-ish dungeon, so it's not something spectacular, but it was still something you could use to level yourself up, 40 to 50 or something, I think. Should Diamond be accessible at the start of the server? This one's a lot more tight. Most people saying no. I think that's okay to say no to that. I mean, I'm okay with that not being accessible, even though I just said I'm like quite tryhard. Diamond was a little bit more advanced, so that's okay. I'd be okay with it being accessible at the start of the server, but if you make too much stuff accessible at the start of the server, there's not any point going to Moradin or any of these other ones. So that's why Blizzard sort of like stagger this stuff out. Should Azuragus and Lord Kazakh be accessible at the start of the server? Most people said no, 3 months after release. I would probably agree with that, mostly because there was an exploit. I don't know whether Blizzard knew about it, or whether, well, they did technically fix it, but whether they remembered that they fixed it. Me and my friend Harry, he had a paladin, and there was this thing that the paladin could do, where if it was attacked, it would build up stacks of, say, reflective damage. I can't remember exactly how it worked, but the idea is that you would attack them, and every time they got attacked, or every 5th attack that they took, if they pressed this button, it would reflect all the damage that they've accumulated back at the attacker. So Yes, it was one shot. The Ret exploit, Tyrrell's saying on Kazakh, one shot in Kazakh. We tried it, and apparently we didn't attack enough because we got them down to like 30% health or something like that. But yeah, the idea is that you would duel your friend, build up all of those stacks, and then run with him, and he'd go and fight Kazakh, and then press this button, and it would one-shot him. That was the theory behind that. So, should the Gurabashi Arena event be accessible at the start of the server? Most people say yes to that. I would say yes as well. I thought it was more or less at the start anyway. Because I swear people used to just go straight there, even though it was like suicidal and it was like level 30. And it's quite... It takes like about 30 hours to get to level 30. Like, World of Warcraft Classic is like... Once you start level... It takes about 24 hours or something like that to get to about level 26 or 7. And that's if you're going hard. So... If you went there, you can get the chest the first couple of times, but you're sacrificing your leveling time. So, it's the item. Yeah, I'm quite okay with that. There's a lot of these, by the way, so I shouldn't drag on too long on these. I'll get a bit better. Each time they get crit by something, they would take 1 extra attack on the next one they did. So you can have 1,000 attacks in one, says Flak Attack. Yes, that's the general idea of the Paladin. Should Warsong Gulch and Ulteric Valley be accessible at the start of the server? I can't believe that was 6 months after release. It seems hard to believe. Well, no, actually, it's not that hard to believe. Because I used to do PvP. It was world PvP. This is before Battlegrounds came out. And I got to like rank 9 or 10. And then Battlegrounds came out. And that's when I sort of like... At that time, I moved to a different server. But I possibly could have got rank 14. But I don't think I would have beaten the main guy. Because I was in battle with this other guy who was a warrior, but he had like a guild behind him, and they would sort of like shield him up and protect him and all that. And then when Battlegrounds came out, they farmed the hell out of Battlegrounds, whereas I was more of a kind of solo player. I spent almost all of my time as a gnome rogue in Orgrimmar. I was quite famous for it on the server. I even made like a video for it back in the day for Warcraft movies. This is like before I even knew about YouTube. And it was called No, That's Not Going to Happen. And I was that little gnome rogue that would just gank people all day in Orgrimmar. Even when my raid, my guild teammates said, you know, do you want to come raid Onyxia? I said, no, I'm ganking people in Orgrimmar. That was the game for me. I just love doing that so much. But I think I would probably raid and stuff like that this time round. So, yeah, okay. I'm fine with Warsong Gulch being delayed. That means more world PvP, technically. Should Blackwing Lair be accessible at the start of the server? So 7 months after release, yeah, definitely leave that one out for a while, because Blackwing Lair, I think that gives you some good upgrades and items. I don't know if that means, is that the raid Blackwing Lair, or is that just the instance? I can't remember exactly now. Should the Dark Moon Fair be accessible at the start of the server? I never really cared that much about the Dark Moon Fair, so either way on that one. Obviously, the blue means yes, the orange means no. I won't read out the percentages every time. Should Sul'Gurub? I really want to farm Sul'Gurub this time round, because I don't think I actually managed to do Sul'Gurub particularly well back in the day. Like I said, I spent most of my time just ganking people, PvP in Orgrimmar. So I would like very much to have early access to Sul'Gurub if possible, but I would be willing to wait 10 months if need be. It seems a long time though. The problem I'm having here is because times have changed now, it's so much easier to access information. And people have already played this stuff. So, again, Blizzard might think, oh well, we'll you know, 3 months down the line, we'll let them play Dire Maul or whatever. I'm willing to bet you that within like 3 or 4 weeks now, people will be kitted up enough to actually beat Dire Maul. So they just have to wait like 2 months of almost doing nothing. They should stagger them, but maybe not as much, because people will go through content way quicker these days than they ever did back then. So 10 months seems like a long time to wait. Should Arathi Basin be accessible at the start of the server? I think that's fine, but again, that won't be, because it's more like... Why did they say... They said yes to that, but didn't they say no to the Warsong Gulch? Oh, they did say yes. Oh, I guess people don't really want the world PvP then. I kind of understand that, but... World PvP was great, like Taramil and stuff like that. So if you bring out the battlegrounds at the start of the server, people won't have so much of a reason to do that. Should the Stranglefilm Fishing Extravaganza be accessible? I thought that was, again, like 10 months after release. I guess that was a feature that came, but I didn't realise it like 10 months afterwards. It's not really a big issue. It does give you a nice trinket, though, that can increase your movement speed or something like that by 5%, or the experience you get. I can't remember exactly what it was. Should the Dragons of Nightmare be accessible at the start of the server? That was the green dragons. I think I only tried that once with a raid, and there was also a horde team trying to do it at the same time, so basically we never got it done, because we just got in each other's way. I guess I'm fine with that. Like when I say I'm fine with that, I could go either way, basically. I'm not really bothered whether it's a yes or a no, for me, personally. Should AQ40 and AQ20 be accessible at the start of the server? No way. Yeah, that one took some time. That's late game. That is very late game in vanilla, AQ40. So, yeah, that I don't think it needs to, like, wait as long as possible, but it definitely doesn't come out at the start. Should the war effort be a single one-time event? Does anyone remember the war effort? That's where you had to gather wool cloth, silk cloth, pretty much any resource that World of Warcraft had available. And they want to make it a cyclical one-time event, or 6 months, every 3 months. Most people are saying one-time event. I'm pretty sure that's what the war effort was. That was for the AQ40 to open up the gates. I don't think people want that. I mean, back then that was a pain in the butt. So I'm not sure about that. And only one person gets to basically take all the credit for the server. Should Naxxramas... Oh yeah, bragging rights, by the way. I was the #1 person on the server for PvP with the Rogue. And my enemy was Denarge. You had one person on the Alliance and one person on the Horde. So bragging rights for that. I had the little PvP tabard that said WoW on it. So it was purple. It was cool. I wore it with pride, but you couldn't see it very easily because I was a female gnome. Should Naxxramas be accessible at the start of the server? That is the late game. So late that I think only about, what was it, 4% of the World of Warcraft population managed to do it? If that, I think that was the figure. I'm probably wrong, but it was probably something like between 1 to 4% of people in the world actually managed to do Naxxramas. And even then, maybe not even completely complete it, just to even step in there and do something. Was I a Grand Marshal? Unfortunately, I wasn't. Like I said, me and my friends, we moved to different servers quite often. I mean, the bright side of that is I got to try a lot of different classes, leveling them up. The downside is I never really committed too much to any one class. So the Rogue, like I said, got to like rank 9 or 10, I think it was. Maybe even 11. I think I got 11 because you get the shoulder pads and stuff like that. But then we moved to a different server, and that's when I made the Shaman. And I did not like the Shaman. Because what I did is I took it a bit slower. And by taking it slower, that meant that I wasn't ahead of the pack, which meant that I got ganked a lot more, which meant that I had a much more miserable time. So that's part of the benefit of being a no-lifer and absolutely going ham and grinding like a madman, because you get ahead of so many people that you can actually have the whole world to yourself, practically. Should Naxxramas be accessible at the start of the server? Oh yes, we've done that. Should cross-realm battlegrounds be implemented? No! Oh. No! For me, one of the things that killed the feeling of World of Warcraft was cross-realm battlegrounds. Especially when they got bigger and bigger. I can't believe most people said yes to that. I'm a bit unhappy about that, really. One of the best things about World of Warcraft Vanilla was when you queued up for a battleground, you would recognize almost every single name on the enemy team. You would say, oh, that guy's a good warrior. Or that mage always is sniping me from the back. You would recognize them personally. And you would know who was who and who was good and who was bad. It felt way more personal. Like you had grudges with these people. Should the arena system be added at some point in the life of classic servers? I guess they could add it in vanilla, but I don't think so. I'm fine with no on that. Would you like to keep dishonorable kills? Most people say keep them, and then there's get rid of them. I think dishonorable kills was when you killed someone after they spawned from a graveyard or something like that within 20 seconds. Or if you've killed them so many times, it stopped counting or something like that. Should Blizzard provide additional incentives for world PvP? Most people say no. I guess people were scared about what Blizzard will do. I feel like a lot of the people that filled in this survey probably didn't actually play with vanilla. Because I'm surprised at that one again. I think a lot of people that genuinely were there in vanilla and enjoyed vanilla loved world PvP. Taran Mill and stuff like that. So you would think you would want some sort of incentive for it. But again, I could take it or leave it. I'm not going to be upset. Should UBRS... Oh, that was it. Upper Blackrock Spire. So Blackwind Lair was the raid. Upper Blackring Spire was like the... well, technically it's a raid. But it was more sort of like... I don't know, a stepping point towards actual raiding. So, should it be a 10-man or a 15-man dungeon? Change to 10 in patch 1.10. Yeah, 10-man's fine. I think, yeah, 10-man. 10-man's always... My favourite raiding was me, Praki, and a whole bunch of others, 10-man in Karazhan. That was small and personal enough group that you could go through and enjoy the content. I don't mind like 40-man, but 10-man I think is technically like the most enjoyable content. Or 10 or 15-man, like, you know, Suleiman, that kind of stuff. The more people you chuck in, the more sort of like mindless it becomes. Sexy time. I don't know about that. I'll be doing some work, man. You and your impossible bosses. You should be filling this in, sexy time. You love World of Warcraft. Should Stratham and Scholomance be a 5-man or a 10-man dungeon? I actually don't remember. I remember Stratham being more than 5 people, but I don't remember Scholomance being more than 5 people. Again, I can take it or leave it, but yeah, 5-man I think is better for both of those. Would you like to see classic expansions implemented at some point in the life of classic? What does that mean? Does that mean... what? The Burning Crusade? And Wrath of the Lich King? Most people said yes to that. I'm not 100% sure if I understand that question. Oh, Feldrius is saying if you get Dishonor, if you kill low-level NPCs, it fucks up your PvP rank. Oh, yeah. Well, I would kill grunts and stuff like that, or the... I didn't realise it, but I think I was hurting my... You know when I did the world PvP? Again, I would go to all sorts of places. It wouldn't just be Orgrimmar. And I would kill, like, the guys that would allow players to fly from one position to another. And then I found out recently that apparently that actually gets rid of... or that removes some of your honour and stuff. You lose honour points for that or something like that. So I was actually shooting myself in the foot every time I did that. And they weren't easy to kill, because the moment you started fighting that guy, 2 of his wyverns or 2 of his griffins will come at you as well. And they do tons of damage. So, Flak Attack says adding more content to vanilla without raising the level cap. People were talking about adding Grim Batol and Mount Hyjal zone that you can enter. Oh, okay. Well, is that what they intended to do? Yeah, okay, sure. Let them branch out a little bit and give us something new within the old. Should classic expansions increase the level cap or remain at level 60? So most people said remain at 60. Yeah, keep it 60. Although I do like the Burning Crusade, because when you got level 70, I think each class got something really cool. Level 80 was fine as well, Wrath of the Lich King. It's once we got past Wrath of the Lich King, it started going wrong with the levels. But I like level 70 because of the Colossus Smash. Was it? No. It was the jump that the warriors can do. That was cool. Like, every class got something cool at level 70. But yeah, that's fine. I mean, that would be the expansion anyway, so... Yeah, keep it level 60. Should classic expansions use other continents, or should all new zones be part of the existing continents? Use other continents as well. Use existing continents only. So are they talking about Mr. Pandaria and Northrend? I guess just keep it as it is. Yeah. Would you like to see all inaccessible zones on Azeroth and Eastern Kingdoms become accessible zones in the future? So there was quite a few of those on the world map. I think one of those, although that gives you an inclination as to the expansion, which was the Burning Crusade, which is the Silver Moon area. You couldn't get up there. Well, maybe you could if you were able to wall hack well enough, but yeah, most people say yes. So wasn't there like an area slightly bottom left of Greymane's wall? I guess that was the starting area for Greymane as well. Yeah, so there's a few areas like that. That's fine. That would be Mount Hyjal and that, wouldn't it, as well? What race am I going to pick? I don't know 100%. Part of me thinks I should play Warrior, because Warrior was... it's like the most... It's not... I don't know if standard's the right word for it, but it's good if it's supported by a guild and teammates, like in battlegrounds, in raiding and stuff like that. You can sort of like lead the charge. But I really did love my rogue, and I really did love my mage. So I don't know. I don't know 100%. I probably need to play a bit more to work out exactly what I want to go. Warrior would be the best to lead the guild with, but at the same time, I really did like rogue and mage. Would you like to see new raids and dungeons added that were hinted at during vanilla, but never... Oh, yeah, we discussed this earlier. Yeah, most people say yes. Absolutely. Give us some new stuff within the old. Should new raid and dungeon item drops remain at or below Naxxramas levels, or go beyond Nax item stats? I would say remain at or below. Like, one of the best things about vanilla also was that the numbers were more straightforward. You didn't do ridiculous damage. So, yeah, keep those numbers low. I feel like the balance was actually a little bit imbalanced, actually. That sounds weird to say. In Classic, because I was, again, this comes back to ganking in Orgrimmar, I only had greens and maybe a couple of blues. And I did well for the first couple of weeks. But once people started to raid Onyxia, and then they start to raid Molten Core, they got these purple daggers and legendaries. And I could not compete with them at all. My gear just meant that I was useless in those situations. So I personally am of the mind that I think upgrades are fine if they are minute. You should be doing the content for the fun of it and getting a little upgrade. That way everyone's as close as possible and it becomes more about skill than it does, oh, I've got this legendary, so basically you cannot possibly kill me because I do 5 times the damage you do. So I personally prefer to keep the skill level and the balance level as, you know, tight as possible. Keep the items levels as close as possible. Like every, you know, just go up 5 item levels at most. You get so much difference between the item levels. If Blizzard offers a TBC server, would you like the ability to copy your vanilla character to it? Most people say yes. In fact, that's probably the vast majority there of all of those polls. I mean, yeah, I guess so. But I'm okay restarting a new character. But yeah, I would have thought, considering vanilla, like, I don't know whether they're going to make changes in vanilla so that you can have account-wide progression. So reputations were an absolute slog in vanilla. I don't know if enough of you remember or played back then, but it would take you forever to upgrade to get your... Most people played human just for the 10% bonus to reputation. So getting all your reputations up and all of that was an absolute slog, so I could totally understand transferring it over. I don't know if they're going to make it account wide, little changes like that. Yeah, you don't, Sexy Time, because you missed out on World of Warcraft, so you lose. Classes were... I do actually feel bad for people that missed out on World of Warcraft, to be quite frank with you, because those were the best times. Classes were balanced throughout vanilla. Should class talents be in their earlier state or later state throughout Classic, added across many patches? So class balance is the earlier state, later state. Huh. Most people want to keep it later. I would have thought they'd say earlier on that one. So they want the balance sort of like, you know, sustained at the start rather than being dragged out. But there you go. Again, I mean, whatever happens, happens for me. I'm going to play the classic servers and I'm going to have fun. I'm not going to look at one of these and probably go, oh my god, I can't play classic now. I don't think that's probably going to happen unless it's something really bad. Would you like to see Blizzard periodically balance classes in the future? Again, I could go either way and that doesn't bother me. Most people say yes. Would you like to see additional classes viable? I guess that's good though, because it means that they'll be keeping tabs on balance. Would you like to see additional classes viable for tanking in 40-man raids? I think that would be good. I'm surprised that's as close as it is, because back in the day, Warrior was basically the only tank there was. In before people say Druids. Yes, Druid was probably like the second tank. And then Paladins weren't really very good at tanking at all, but they were much better at tanking in TBC, the expansion. But you really only had like 3 classes, and really it was only Warrior that was actually genuinely good at tanking. The other 2 classes, Paladin and Druid, just weren't really designed for it very well. So I think it would make sense to give more options. Otherwise, you can only really progress if you've got a warrior in your group. Should battle masters exist to queue into battlegrounds? Most people say yes, keep the battlegrounds. Keep the battle masters. Yeah, I would agree with that one. I mean, the whole instantaneous find a group thing is something that killed World of Warcraft's feel instead of going out into the world to do it. But I don't miss running to the battleground portal. You used to fly to Arathi Highlands and then run up the hill to the guy that was standing by a portal. In fact, I think most of the time you could either go in the cave and you would walk all the way to the portal. If you go through the portal, it will basically queue you. Or you talk to the guy next to the portal. That's how you used to queue up for battlegrounds. Would you like to see dual specialization? This was never offered. Most people say no. I'm really shocked at that one. I don't know why they would say no to that. Why would you want less options? I mean, that's not a bad thing, because you spec in and out of it, so you could be an arms warrior, you could be a healing paladin or a rep paladin. So back in the day, apparently this was never offered, so you would have only one spec. And you'd have to respec, and it would cost you gold. And I think, I might be wrong here, but you'd have to relearn all the talents. I hope I'm wrong on that. Would you like to, and that meant costing you gold. Would you like to see, well, Gunda says dual spec equals more variety but harder to balance. Am I looking at that wrong then? Dual specialization. When I see that, I'm thinking, okay, I've specialized into arms warrior. Okay, I press this button, after 10 seconds, it changes me into my other specialization, which is Fury Warrior. Like, that's what I'm thinking, unless I'm looking at that wrong. Would you like to see guild banks offered in vanilla? This was never offered in vanilla. Yes, gold! The guild leaders made lots of gold from their guild banks. Would you like to have a personal bank sizes expanded to prevent the need for multiple alts? I really don't know with that one myself. Feel free to answer that for yourselves. I'm okay on either any result on that. Would you prefer a lower maximum respec cost? Oh, absolutely. Why would people not want a lower maximum respec? People really hate respec. What? I can't... It feels like some people have been trolling. People want to pay more to respec. It wasn't fun paying like 100 gold or 200 gold or whatever the hell it cost every time you wanted to just change your spec. It was a lot of gold, and gold was... You had far less gold back then as well. Would you like to see flying mounts? 95.4% say no. Yeah, I mean, as soon as I even saw the flying, I said no in my head. I was the first person on my server in TBC to get a flying mount. And part of the way I did that was to buy gold from one of these Chinese sites that were selling gold on the server, because it cost like 2,000 gold. Pay to win. I actually was higher level enough, and I played... I think I was the first person to level 70 on the server anyway, but I played enough that I had gold, but they were so expensive. But I was the first person to have the Wyvern, but they were shit. They moved at 60% movement speed. You were slower. It's only when epic flying came in that you actually could move at decent speed. But you used to move at 60% movement speed in a flying mount. It was terrible. But anyway, yeah, no flying machines, no flying mounts. Would you like a dungeon finder? I remember someone being salty about that as well, saying, "Oh, the only way you got it." I was gonna buy gold as well, but apparently they said that someone had just bought it. I remember, that's why I remember that story. So they couldn't do it themselves. Would you like a dungeon finder? This was never offered in vanilla. Looks like people hate dungeon finder. I think in vanilla, that's absolutely fine. You want to keep the vanilla feel of going... Everyone used to fly over to the place. Or you'd have two people get there and use the summoning stone. Although I can't remember if the summoning stone was something like was 6 months into vanilla. But I remember that was a thing. Would you like a raid finder? Oh, no. See, that's not quite as bad as the flying mounts, but you can see when it gets to like the 80 or 90%, you know people absolutely hated it. Or feel that that thing was responsible for screwing over the World of Warcraft feel. So when you see 93%, that's 93% people saying Raid Finder ruined World of Warcraft. Would you like to have meeting stones usable for teleportation? This was never offered in vanilla. Was it not offered like I just said that a moment ago? I can't help but feel it is like 6 months down the line or 12 months down the line. Was it the Burning Crusade that came in? Okay, well, that's fine. Everyone has to fly over. You normally had... I don't mind the meeting stones, because you still needed 2 people to get there. And if you grouped up with randoms, you'd inevitably have 1 or 2 people in your group, a 5-man group, going to Scholarmans. You'd have 1 or 2 people in that group that say, "Oh, I'm just doing this quest. I'm just doing it. I'll be 5 minutes." And then like 20 minutes later, "Oh, I've got 8 out of 10 pieces for this quest. I'm going to fly there in a moment." So I think, yeah, meeting stones are a good thing, because you actually force that player to come over. Should auction houses exist in every capital city? Just Orgrimmar. Most people say every capital city. I guess that's okay, but part of the thing that was kind of cool is that you would have basically everyone in Ironforge or everyone in Orgrimmar. So you'd feel like the places were even more populated, but I don't mind too much. Should auction houses on the same faction be linked? Most people say yes. So that's like... I didn't know they were separate. They're not separate, are they? If I went to Ironforge auction house, you could buy the same things there as you could Stormwind, couldn't you? I didn't know they weren't separate. Should additional flight paths be added? People say mostly no. I don't think that matters either way. I would have thought a few more options would be good, because some maps... I think Felwood had like 1 flight point. It had like 1 flight point in the middle. So if you wanted to go to somewhere at the bottom of Felwood or somewhere at the top of the Felwood, you would have to basically mount up and go all the way up or all the way down. That was just an example, but I think a few more flight points doesn't hurt. Should flight paths be linked? Most people say yes. I don't quite understand that. Maybe I'm being dumb, but I thought they were linked. It says it as added, so maybe that's what I was used to. Were they not added? I think you had to get the exact points that they would go to. Say, for example, you had 2 flight paths there and 1 here, but it would always go like that, and you went from there to there. You couldn't use that flight path because you had to have got that one over there. I think that's it. That's right, Diesta. What level should be required to gain a non-epic mount in vanilla standard? Level is 40. Oh yeah, 40. No. 40 was fine. And even then it was pretty slow. Yeah, that's fine. Should loot be pick-upable? Is that a word? Pick-upable? Automatically without having to click the item in the loot window. Loot had to be clicked in the... Yeah, I remember that. Auto loot, yeah. Now, that's just a convenience thing. I'm fine with that. There's certain conveniences that I say no to, but that's one I say yes to. Should raids have dungeon timers? What does that mean exactly? Just a little clock that tells you how long you've been there, or how many minutes you've been in there? I guess that's fine. Should molten core be accessible only through Blackrock depths? Most people say through the window too. Only through Blackrock's depths. I was fine with it being through the window. It didn't make any sense at all. You would just basically run up, run in. If you were good enough, you would jump off the chain into the wall, and it would leave you with 10% of your health because of the fall damage, but you would still be left alive, technically, if you land in the right spot. So you don't have to travel all the way down, and then you just run into the window. And you hope that no one's there to gank you between like the 10 seconds it takes you to get from that point to the window when you're on 10% health. So yeah, the teleportation thing is fine. It didn't make that much sense, but it's okay. I never had a problem with it. What's the link for this? I mean, you can't vote, unfortunately, but I'll put the link in the chat. This is like the results, I think. I don't know. Maybe you can still vote, but when I looked this up, this is what I found. I didn't find the official forums saying, click here and then fill this survey in yourself. It might be over by now. Because like I say, I'm very late to the party here. This was done quite some time ago. Should vanilla style wall walking... Oh, I loved it. Be permitted to explore content otherwise inaccessible. Blizzard considered wall walking a bug. I bet they did. This I really hope stays. It basically breaks the game, but in like one of the best ways possible. I got to Hyjal. That was part of my video for Warcraft movies as well. The gnome, no, that's not going to happen. But one of my favorite things that I shouldn't really say this because it will give people ideas, and it will also make me seem like a bit of a scumbag. But Praki and I, we were quite try-hard, but we got a little bit burnt out on trying hard in Ultric Valley because it would take so long and it would be so much of a sort of stalemate. So if you go, imagine you're coming out of, I think as a Horde player, it doesn't matter, you can do this on either server, but imagine as a Horde player, you come out of that cave, you go to the middle, you go up, I don't know, about 10%, 20% of the map. Now to the left of there is this mountain that you can actually jump onto, and then jump onto, and then jump onto, and jump on, and you have to do this quite a few times, but you can get up to the top of it, and no one can see you on the map. So the only thing you had to do, once you managed to achieve that, is just make sure that you push forward on your keyboard once every 10 minutes, or before that. And you could just stand there and make sure that you didn't get kicked out of the Ultric Valley. And you couldn't be seen on the map either, because it wouldn't track you that far. So, yeah, that was good times. Should this wall walking be permitted in battlegrounds? Most people say no, because again, Warsong Gulch, you would grab the flag, and this was what the Alliance could do. I don't know if the Horde could do it so easily, but the Alliance could grab the flag, go back to their main base, and go to the outer bits. So you go through the tunnel, the middle tunnel at the bottom, go to the right, which leads to the roof, but before, instead of going up the sort of like slope ramp to go up to the roof, you would sort of wall jump, and you could get onto the roof of the roof. I'm not necessarily explaining this the best, but trust me, you could get on top of a place where you weren't supposed to get to. And the only way they could get the flag off of you is if they do the same. So the enemy players would have to come to your base and then wall hack up themselves to then reach you. It was fantastic. Completely broken, but fantastic. Should donations of differing types of cloth be permitted to increase reputation with a given faction? Most people say yes. I'm okay with that because, damn, it was painful for reputations. So anything that boosts reputations, I'm okay. That's one of the things that really sucked. It was beyond ridiculous how long it took you to get a reputation up. Should weather effects be implemented? Well, there you go. Okay. I can't imagine saying no to that, so that's fine. What leveling rate would you prefer? 1 times as standard? Yes. We go try hard. Grind, grind, grind. I was very good at grinding, so I'm okay with that, because I know how to manipulate the AI, basically like Warcraft 3 style with World of Warcraft. One of my favourite areas was Grim... It wasn't Grim Patrol, but it was underneath the wetlands. What was that area called? It was like the orange... It was the Badlands. And there was a bunch of dwarves, and I was on my rogue. And each dwarf was positioned away from each other that if you so much as walked even a meter ahead of them, you would aggro the next dwarf. So you had to be absolutely perfect. So I would stealth, attack one, eventually kill it, go to the next one, stealth just before hitting it, attack it, and rinse and repeat. So I knew quite a few tricks on how to do it. You had to really position yourself exactly right most of the time so you can sort of grind and creep really efficiently. It wasn't Tanaris. Tanaris was the sandy pirate place. It was a Badlands. Would you like an option to pay an additional... Speaking of pay...
1 month!
Sileon, thank you very much for this subscription. Would you like an option to pay an additional $15 a month to... Whoa! Oh, that's got to be the most one. 95.9. That's even worse than the flying. Oh, Blizzard. They got dirty. They got dirty. I bet the rest of these are going to be about paying for stuff. That's dirty, that is. Would you like an option to display updated graphics from later expansions? Okay, so most people say yes, but with old graphics on by default. The next bunch of people say no. The next bunch of people say yes with new graphics on by default. Oh, well, I'm absolutely fine with yes. With old graphics on, but for those of you that can't stand the old graphics, you can have the new graphics. It's not going to affect anything, I don't think. As long as it doesn't affect gameplay in any way, shape or form, it's purely cosmetic. You can play with your shiny new graphics. Absolutely fine. Maybe I want to do that. I don't know. I'm fine with the old graphics, but maybe I feel like, you know what, today I'm going to use the new graphics. That's fine. But it certainly shouldn't be default for the new graphics. This isn't Blizzard's survey. It's a random guy from Classic WoW. It says Victoria rules. Well, at any rate, I imagine that this is about as accurate towards the official survey. If you can find the official survey for me as well, Victoria rules, I'd really appreciate that. And then I'll probably fill that in later tonight. But that's still going, like I say. But this is close enough to the official thing. Plus, it's had 33,000 responses on each question. So I think that's pretty legitimate. If it had like 100 responses or something, yeah, okay. I might be, you know, bad. But 33,000 is a pretty respectable amount. And this looks like the last question. So we did that one. Would you like to see an option to increase Terran visibility? Yes, I would. I think everyone's computer, even people with bad computers these days, will be able to still be able to increase the vision, because technically it gives you an advantage. I had the strangest advantage. My computer was awful. Okay, this is before my previous computer, which was already bad for World of Warcraft. Okay, so this is before the previous computer, which people know have been notorious bad. It's taken me years, 7 years to get a new computer from that point. But before that one, I had an even worse one. And I was playing a rogue, and even though I was laggy and I didn't have smooth frame rate, I couldn't raid, basically. That's part of the reason why I didn't raid, because when I went to Onyxia, I had like 5 FPS. But the one advantage it did give me is when I was in zones where other players were, I would get this very consistent, very reliable lag. It was a distinctive feel, and you knew that another player had come within about 3,000 meters or whatever it was within you, your territory. So I would use that to my advantage because I'd say, oh, I've just got that lag spike. I know someone's nearby. Yes, I was a laggy rogue. So I'm going to go find them and kill them. It gave me an advantage, but the only problem is that's the only advantage I got. I had every other disadvantage, such as awful frame rate, awful lag, awful everything else. But yeah, that was good. I was one of the lag because I remember I fought a Tauren, and I was moving in and out of him, and you could clearly see he was super confused. Like he didn't know which way to face. So he had better gear than me, but I still won the fight because he couldn't actually target me and hit me. Another reason for playing a tiny small character like Gnome. I don't know if I would play Gnome again. If I played Mage, I probably would actually. It depends if it was Alliance. I don't know whether we're going Horde or Alliance. I don't know whether that stuff, but for now, this is, I guess, the Reddit thing, but it's covered most of the questions. People say it's usually fake. It wasn't my fault though. That's what I could afford at the time. That was my computer. I had terrible graphics, I had terrible frame rate, I had a terrible everything else. It wasn't my fault. I had terrible connection. That was it. That was life. There you go. Oh well, thank you very much everyone for joining me for this. It's been fun, and I very much look forward to the official servers. If there's any other links, then feel free to give me those in regards to the official, servers and Blizzard's intentions, because I would actually like to read up and find out more about it and maybe do some more videos in the future. But for now, that's this survey done. So it says up the top here, Ultimate WoW Classic Design Survey for our Classic WoW. So yeah, it is Reddit technically, but I wasn't sure 100%. But I have to assume that it's got to be more or less the same questions as on the official one. But yeah, thank you very much everyone. Take care, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.